Small game hunting in Wyoming. 2 friends and I. Let's say Kyle and Joe. Slow day. Cap a rabbit with my Beretta 22. Later, friend shoots a squirrel out of a tree. We start to leave when we see this girl just sitting on a tree stump, facing away from us. Apologize for firing a shot so near her, saying he didn't see her. No movement. We walk up closer to see if she's okay, and see she's got a little blood on her shirt. Nothing alarming, but what you would get if a branch cut you up a little. Walk in front of her, and she just has this blank stare that looks through you, not at you. Offer to take her back to our camp, and without a word, she starts walking with us, still blank. Get to our tents and fire, and she sits again. It's almost night, so we tell her we'll get her back to the nearby town tomorrow. Buddies share tent, so she has her own. Mine's smallest, so I get to sleep no homo. Crawl out of tent next morning. Gear is everywhere. Kyle's camera smashed, a rifle's missing, and a girl's tent stakes are all broken in half, which is a feat itself. Girl's gone. We're all fearing a bear attack. Send Joe to get our Jeep and go to nearby town for game warden help. Me and Kyle start searching woods with a tiny 22 in case she actually got taken by a bear. No sign of girl anywhere. Start to get off trail onto wet grassy area when we find a satchel on the ground. Don't go that way, I tell Kyle before he continues and slips on some grass. Walk into the clearing with the stump where we found her and get the smell of death and rot. Dead possum, squirrel, rabbit, and even a deer torn to shreds. On the stump is a pile of blood and decaying innards, probably from the animals. Follow a small trail of some sort of hooves to the bottom of a small hill where a beanie hat sits on a branch. When I go to grab it, Kyle shouts, "There!" And all I see when I turn my head is antlers dart from the top of the hill next to a pine tree. We get to the top of the hill, and Kyle is pale. Says whatever it was on its hind legs. I say it's just a deer, I saw the antlers, but I see the perspective of the pine to Kyle, and it would have had to been taller than him. Officially spooked. We start heading back toward where our camp was, and the forest is dead silent, which usually means a predator is somewhere near. Kyle hasn't said a word, he just has his Bowie knife out, and is darting his eyes all over the trees. A loud shriek fills the woods. Sounds like Joe, even though I never heard him scream. Run towards the direction it came from, shouting that we're over here. See Joe sprinting towards us so fast, he almost passes us. He's holding his arm, cut up worse than the girl was earlier. Says some large animal pushed him off the trail down a small hill into a thicket. Keeps rambling about how fucked up it looked, like an elk-goat thing that was big enough to be a half-grown moose. Kyle says we saw it too. We basically say, fuck the girl, we're out of here. We'll tell the wardens when we get to town. It's getting dark again anyway. Start trying to find the trail again, gun out. Don't go that way. I hear my voice, but I didn't fucking say it. What the fuck? Kyle and Joe ask what, and I tell them I didn't say it. Look sketchily behind us and see antlers behind a tree, topping out at like 8 fucking feet. Before my eyes can even adjust, it dashes further into the trees, going from hind legs to a mad dash on all fours. Unload 22 at it, not even aiming, kill an 8-round clip in a second. The reply is some sort of hyena laughter. Nope. Fuck facing it even with a gun. We all sprint back to the path. I'm the fatter one of the group, but today, we're all even pace at death sprint speed. Load new clip when we stop to catch a breath. Guzzle of water. Look up, and it's the fucking girl staring at us, leaning on a tree. Crooked ass smile. Kyle's the first one to speak, voicing our what the fucks, and asking what happened to our fucking camp and our shit. The reply is a fucking follow me wave, and she begins walking back towards the beast. No, don't go that way! She continues. We don't move at all. After another couple yards, she turns back. No crooked smile or blank stare, just pure rage in her expression. The look you might get in the middle of a fist fight when you're ready to do some damage. We start to walk away, and when I turn back, she hasn't moved an inch. Same fucking face. Reach end of the trail where they put the map of the forest in a display case. Smashed map. Gone. Get the Jeep and bail. Contact game wardens, and they say they'll send out a search party for the girl. Nothing's found, and the tents we left are torn to bits. They all figure a grizzly. Give up on hunting and hiking for about a year or two. I guess it all started a few years ago. I was a regular on a different site. I'd go there to troll mostly. I was a little younger and much less mature then. Anyways, after I'd been visiting the site for a while, I got into it with this girl and I said some pretty mean things to her. She convinced me that I had genuinely hurt her feelings. Well, I'd never meant anyone harm with my trolling. I just did it to pass the time. I didn't really have much of a life, to be honest, so I sent her a message to apologize. After that, we started sending the occasional message back and forth, and we began getting to know each other. Soon, it was a message or two every day, and then not long after that, we began chatting on a daily basis. I'd get back from work, go to my cramped little room, and immediately get on to see if Amanda, we'll call her Amanda, was on. I grew to really like her, and as crazy and stupid as it may sound to most people, I grew to love her. One thing I noticed early on though, she didn't take rejection very well. Even though I would never have rejected her anyways, she often took it that I was if I couldn't talk to her for some reason. During those times, she would often lash out, chew me out, and then sign off. As our relationship grew though, so did her ability to trust and confide in me. She began telling me about her addictions. First, it was minor things. Not even really bad in my opinion. She would talk about how she would smoke pot on the weekends and get blackout drunk. Later, she would start talking about the pills that she would take when she was drunk. I worried a little more then, but I'd never been perfect either. I'd experimented plenty with drugs before. Eventually, it got to the point that we talked about wanting to be with one another, about how we wanted to meet. At the time, the situation just wasn't right for either of us though. Between the distance, her not having a car, and me not having enough time off of work, it just wasn't possible. When we would say goodnight, she would usually go on for another 10 minutes about how she was so sad and alone and all she wanted was to be with me. I would try to comfort her, but it never worked. Eventually, I decided it was only fair to her that we start talking to each other as just friends. I figured her feelings for me would eventually fade, and she would find someone local who she could be happy with. She was very beautiful, so it wasn't as if she had to worry about attracting someone. She didn't take it well. She told me she hated me and called me every name in the book. I didn't hear from her for a week after that. When she started talking to me again, she said she understood and that she was sorry for saying she hated me. Needless to say, I was glad she'd forgiven me, and it put my mind at ease that she was able to understand, or so I thought. After that, she began talking about every guy she slept with, telling me details. I still had feelings for her. She knew I did. I'll tell her to stop and she would back off for a bit, but she would always tell me about another one, and every once in a while, she would say, "It could be you." Our relationship continued to become more destructive. She began hurting herself. She would send me pictures of the razor marks on wrists, tell me about the needles that she was sticking in her arm right before she fucked a total stranger. It was hard to deal with, but I did, because I blamed myself for not being able to make her happy. This went on for a while until the time came when I was to be deployed. I told her about it, and she seemed genuinely concerned. We told each other we would keep in touch, and for a while before I left, it was like it used to be. Then the day came, and I went away. Though I had opportunity to get online, it wasn't often. Our communication became less and less frequent, until finally, I just stopped hearing from her altogether. A year went by. I would think about her every once in a while, but not too often. When I'd gotten back, I started frequenting the forums on that site again. I found that Amanda had deleted her account, and basically told everyone they would never hear from her again. Eventually, everyone forgot about her, even me. Then, about 3 months ago, I got a private message from an unfamiliar screen name. She claimed to like some of my writing that I had posted on my profile. I thought that was strange because no one ever reads people's blogs there, and I never really thought my writing was any good. The way this person talked, I knew exactly who it was. So, I called her on it. She confessed that it was her, Amanda. We sent a few messages back and forth. She was very different. She told me that after we had stopped talking, that she had given up. I had been her only happiness aside from drugs, and the only way she knew how to feel something without self-mutilation was to love me. She told me that she had only messaged me because she wanted to let me know she intended to take her own life. She didn't know anyone who would care, and she said at least she hoped that I would. I did. I tried to talk her out of it. Amanda told me if I really didn't want her to go through with it, I would let her call me. She just wanted to hear my voice, so I gave her my number. Moments later, I received a phone call from a blocked number. I knew it was her. I answered. "Hello? Amanda?" She replied, "Yes, it's me. No one has ever listened to me, but you did. You cared. You're the only one who ever has. But then you abandoned me, and I had no one. I just wanted to call because I wanted you to know that it's too late now. I wanted you to hear me say it, not just read it. You're going to listen now, and then you're going to truly learn how it's felt for me, being invisible to everyone, not existing." And then, all I heard was her sobbing. I tried to comfort her. I tried telling her I cared. She wouldn't listen. Then, I heard a strange sound, a very low-pitched humming sound. It was a disturbing sound. It began to drown out her sobbing, and then her sobbing could no longer be heard at all. I don't know if it was too loud or if she just stopped. I listened to this strange, almost alien noise. Even as it sent a chill down my spine, I couldn't stop. And then, the phone call ended. I tried messaging her several times a day. I never got a reply. A week went by, and then it started. I received a phone call from a blocked number. I would answer, and it was always the same thing every time. That noise. That awful, twisted sound. It would go on for about a minute, and then the call would end. I could never manage to hang up for some reason. I assumed it was her, and she was just messing with me. A ridiculous effort to get attention. Even believing that, though, the noise still bothered me. Some nights after hearing that noise, I even began sleeping with the lights on. Silly, I know. After about a month of this, I received an anonymous email. Just a bunch of random numbers. Usually I wouldn't have even noticed such an email. There was no subject, no body, only an attachment. I scanned it for viruses. Nothing. It was just a video. I clicked to open, and shortly after, the video began playing on my screen. At first it was kind of dark, and it was a bit blurry. I couldn't really make out much. I could tell there was a person, though. The person began to light some candles, and as the room began to fill with an eerie light, the camera began to focus. I knew it was her. She was sitting alone in a room with a phone in her hand. She picked up the phone and put it to her lips. "Yes, it's me. No one has ever listened." It was from the night that we had spoken. I continued watching, not remembering how the call had ended. Then she began to cry, and I heard that awful noise. My hair stood on end, and my hand began to tremble. What I saw next. If I could be rid of any memory, it would be those next few minutes. There are no words to describe it. The thing that made that noise. I sat there and watched as she committed suicide in the most disturbing fashion I could ever imagine. Staying on the phone to the very last moment. Then the screen became static, and the video ended. I contemplated what I just saw. I was horrified. My mind raced. Who sent it to me? It obviously wasn't her, but who would film that? Who would take part in that? Stand by and watch that? And then send me the video? I never talked to her through email. How did they get my email? My thoughts were cut short, though, as my phone began to ring. It was a blocked number. "Hello?" And all I heard was that sickening noise. And then weeping. Her weeping. The sound faded a bit. I heard her voice. "You'll be forgotten just like me. People will stop noticing. They'll stop caring. Soon, all you'll have is me. You'll be mine again, forever." Then the noise picked up again for a few moments, and the call ended. I know what I saw. She wasn't alive. She didn't have the money or the skills necessary to produce a video that real looking, unless it was real. She probably recorded that phone call before the video, I thought. Some sick bastard is responsible for all of this. The calls, the anonymous email. I just wanted it to stop, but the phone calls didn't stop. Always the same, except now I could hear her crying. And always she ended it by saying, "You'll be mine forever. Only I'll be able to see you." I began watching the video every day. The numbers in the email weren't random either. I had realized. It was a date. The date of that first phone call. It was about a month ago I began to notice that people didn't really seem to pay much attention to me at work. They would acknowledge me if I said something pertaining to the job, but then they would always go right on with their business. It was as though all personal conversation had started coming to an end. Then, about a week ago, they stopped calling my name at formations. It was as if people were outright ignoring me, often looking right past me. If I said hello, even to a stranger, I wouldn't get a response. As I type this, I've never felt so alone. I just wanted someone to know. None of you have really seemed to notice me either, but maybe one of you will read this. Maybe someone will care. I have to go now. The noise has started again. It's not on the phone anymore. It's in my room. What a stupid ending.